4:30 Wednesday morning. What's up, guys? When you're trying to become something, maybe you already are that. Maybe you just haven't connected with the right person or the right people, right? Let's say you're a knife maker and you're learning how to make knives. And you're like, my knives have to be better. My knives have to be better. And you're looking at this other company that you're comparing yourself to. A dude or a company that's been doing something for 10 years, 20 years, even 50 years, right? And that's what you're comparing yourself to. And you're like, you've got this box of knives, but you haven't actually sold any knives. You're working an extra job. You're working all weekend doing whatever to earn income so that you can get the material to make the knives, but you still have sold 0 knives. And maybe the answer is sell some of those knives that you think aren't good enough, get them out there, and use that money to build your stuff, right? When I was starting my company out, the first several years, I had this delivery route delivering newspapers. And I'd work about 4.5 hours a night and then about 8 hours on Sunday, and then including Saturday. And I'd make about $3,600. And it was just these newspaper routes that overlapped in the exact same area, and it was 3 of them, and it paid, I think, about $3,600. And I was taking weekends off to go to gun shows to show my stuff, but I was working still 7 days a week, except, every now and then, it's like Saturday, Sunday, I'd get somebody to cover my delivery routes. And eventually I'd done it enough that they fired me, and I was super, super worried about that $3,600 because that was all the money that I had coming in, other than occasionally selling a rig or, building some stuff, taking it to gun shows and stuff like that. Well, when they fired me, I had no income, and I had to sell some product and take some product. And I had a small core people, and it was all phones back then. There was no internet or anything. But as soon as I was willing to sell some of that and take some orders and start doing that, I did 10,000 in sales that week. Not even by the end of the week, just that week. And maybe that's the case, right? There's a writer who was sharing all his stuff with his wife. I just heard this. And they were both aspiring writers. And he had come to terms that he was just going to be a failed writer. And his wife pulled this piece of paper out of the trash can. And she'd read all his stuff, but she'd never seen this. And he comes home and she's like, what is this? He's like, oh, I'm so embarrassed by that. That is such garbage. And she talked him into sending it into some publisher or something, and they gave him like a $200,000 signing bonus in like 1973. And that's like $2.1 million today. Any guesses who that writer was that thought he was not good enough and had just completely given up and just came to terms that he was what he was going to be and nothing beyond, especially to do with writing? Stephen King. That's Stephen King. That's his story. And maybe you have something, right? You've got some art that you haven't shown, or you're showing it to the wrong people, right? What people say to you and what people do to you and program you with, that can come from the enemy or it can come from your friends, right? If I put sugar in your coffee, what happens? Well, you'll be okay. If I put strychnine in your coffee, what happens? Well, you die. Well, what if your friend puts strychnine in your coffee? Well, it poisons you. What if your enemy puts sugar in your coffee? Well, then you're fine. And the point is, the people that are close to you, those might be the people that are contaminating and poisoning you. Maybe you just need to be around somebody different, right? Mom always programmed me, man, you work so hard, John. You need a day off. Well, what was I going to do? Everything I was doing was to allow me to sew gear. Even when we go skiing and riding dirt bikes and scuba diving, my mind was always on the thing I was going to build when I got home, because the need uncovered itself while we were doing that thing. Well, I'm, 30, 40, 50, 60 feet underwater, diving and, free diving and shit. I was thinking, man, it'd be nice to be able to wet my mouth while I'm underwater. And I made a little camelback that hung on the side of my cylinder so I could take my regulator out underwater and put some fresh water in my mouth. Some guys came out with that later called the Scuda, self-contained underwater drinking apparatus. But I had built it before I'd ever seen it. Did I invent it? Oh, I don't know. I don't even care. But it was always, had I not been doing that thing and thinking, man, this is something I'd like to have, well, I can make that, right? You just have to connect your thing with the right people. And a lot of times, you're just not around the right people. when you just need better customers. Maybe that's your thing, right? I'm gonna go work out. You guys have a good day. We're gonna record Pulling the Thread podcast Q&A. So if you're a member on our YouTube group, or if you're a member on our Patreon, jump on there, ask some questions. Those videos are driven by the comments that you guys leave. And then we're gonna build some gear videos and do a bunch of other stuff today. Maybe you just need a different group of people. We're gonna have a party here in June for Amanda's birthday. Make sure you check that out and sign up. Doesn't cost anything to come. Maybe you meet the right people there. Maybe you bring your thing, and the person who's willing to buy it, maybe that's new exposure for you.